I have a number of Texas Instrument calculators here that have problems. They were thrown out obviously because of display problems. Got a couple TI-83pluses and then 3 TI-82s. And most of them are suffering from the same affliction here. If you look, the screen. I can change the brightness, and if you look carefully, I'm getting some numbers going across. So obviously this one has connection problem between the motherboard and the display board here, so that one may be able to be fixed. Now this one here had a problem with the display also, and what I did with this one, and I'm powering it up externally here, this one had bad connections between this flat flex cable and these cables, and what I did is I just warmed up the adhesive on here, slowly ran across all of these. That's the lowest temperature that this iron would go. And that seemed to fix the problem, as you'll see here. That seems to work. So that seemed to clear up the problems on this one. And I'll go through the rest of these and see if I can find out why the displays are bad. Like I say, these were thrown apart basically because of the displays. Now this one, after I reheated those connections, I'm able to vary the brightness again. So this one's working. I'm going to put it back together. So I'm going to check some more of these and see if I can find out what the problem is. Here's the second TI-83plus, and this had the scrambled display also. And I had a wedge tip on a soldering iron set to the lowest temperature, which was I think 200 C, and pressed down and ran across this connection here. These are an adhesive. You don't want it too hot. You don't want to melt the plastic, but I got it soft enough, and then I pressed it down. And after I did that, and I have power temporarily connected here. Powered on. Then to make sure I've got each digit, I'll just hit a number of 8s. Now before I try this with a soldering iron, some of these digits were not being produced here, but now you can see. I wonder if the glare is too bad on that. I guess you can see that. You can see all 8s, so each segment of those are displayed. And now let's try a couple functions here. Let's try the sine of 45, 707, that's right. Cosine of 45 should be the same. That's right. Let's try one that is false here. Let's try the tangent of 90 degrees, which would be false, which it is. Domain error. It's outside the domain of the tangent. Let's try another one. How about square root of 144, 12, and then the answer squared should be 144, which it is. So I believe this one is fixed. So once again, the problem with this one was the connection here to the display. I don't know how many connections are here. It's many. It's got to be like 100 or whatever. But I had intermittence on this part here. One of the other ones I had an intermittent on this part here. These are also with an adhesive. So if you get one of these that's acting screwy on the display, you might try what I tried here. It seemed to work. I'm going to try the same thing on one of these TI-82s that are also have a bad display here. Now you could replace this flat flex cable, but I'm going to try, before I do that, I'm going to try with a soldering iron on the lowest temperature I have here. I'm going to try warming up the adhesive and see if I can get this to make contact again. There again, these aren't soldered, these are actually glued on, which seems to me built-in obsolescence, but I guess they figure if you've had this for a couple of years, you'd update to a different one anyway. So I'm going to let that cool for a second. And I'm going to hit the other side here real quick. Suppose I could try a wider tip here on these. What I'm going to look for is see if I can see some kind of a change in the display once I finish this. Something I'm going to try, since a lot of other things aren't working, I'm going to clean these contacts here. Got a little deoxit D5 on a cotton doesn't really show anything on a cotton swab here, but I'm going to do it anyway since these are getting kind of old. Looks like these are gold-plated contacts. I'm not sure. If you take this apart, don't turn this over, because if you do, all of these buttons will fall out and then you'll have a bad day. Which you can put them back in, but it's just time consuming. Anyway, well, if the problem's on this side, you're kind of out of luck. But I'm going to try it here. This is a desperate attempt, but nothing to lose. Ooh, look at that. With no power applied, I'm getting Just going to put a couple temporary screws in to hold this so it doesn't fall out. And we will apply a little bit of electricity. And of course, we get nothing. Well, here we got an open circuit here, and it looks like it's one of the power. I believe it might be the negative. I'm not sure. Let's see. Yeah. Here's the positive, and here's the negative. And we've got an open here. Yeah. So, boy, I don't think I want to solder these. I think about the only way to save this is to solder a jumper. I may just remove this this flat flex cable. These things, yeah, these don't look good at all. I think what I'll try first, I'm going to try to jumper the negative lead, put a jumper from there to there, and see what happens. That wasn't the only one that was open. Yeah, a bunch of these are open. That one's good. And that one's open. So, we got a bunch of open ones here. So, I think about the only thing to do is that. So I'll have to solder wires, quite a few of them here. I'll have to solder, complete this circuit here between these two boards. I'll have to do it with some small, if I got some small gauge stuff, I'll do that, and then I will be back. And then we'll give it the test. There's a blue tape on the bottom here. And then on the top, here's your conductors here. And that comes off. And there's the adhesive. Well, that just doesn't seem like a way to do this for longevity, but I guess get a couple seasons out of it, and that's what they want. Okay, I'll have to scrape the rest off of here. I scraped them off of here, so now I need to complete these two circuits here with jumpers, and then we'll try it. So that will be next. Stand by. When you solder these, use a real small tip. And then pull. You want to tin these contacts. I put some flux on here before I there. And now we're ready for the jumpers. There are the jumpers. Not real pretty, but if they make contact, that's all that matters. So now I'll put it in the case, and hopefully we'll get all 8s with all of its segments. Well, we still got problems here. Let's try cosine of 45 degrees equals. I can make out 0.707, which is right. Let's try the tangent of 90 degrees, which is undetermined here. Tangent of 90, it should be error. And it is. It says error. And let's see. How about the sine of 45? Should be 707. Yeah, it is. Okay, I'm still got some pixels missing here. I'm not sure where it is. I'm pushing on the... Yeah, we still got problems. I'm beginning to think this isn't worth it. Well, here I'm putting pressure. Ah, boy. I just know it's going to lift these pads if I try to solder them too much. Ah, boy. Well, if it doesn't work, it was worth a try, considering what I have invested in these things, which is practically nothing here, except some time. Well, I'm going to screw around with this again, and then I'm not going to put too much more time in it. If I get it working, we'll go forward. Otherwise, it's going to go in the junk. Well, here's the result of this experiment here, or attempt anyway. The 3 TI-82s, I played around with those for the most time, and I couldn't get any of them to have a operational display that displayed all the characters. And I tried replacing bad flex cables and jumpering. It just, you can put so much time into this, it's really not worth it. I did get 2 functional TI-83pluses though, and this is actually my favorite calculator anyway. So I got 2 of these. My suggestion is don't spend a lot of time doing this. Try the technique of reheating the connectors that are glued down. That just seems like a terrible way to do that. I know it makes it for speedy manufacturing, but as far as longevity goes, I don't know. They seem to be a weak point in the calculators there. But it was worth a try. These most of these were just out of the junk. I think I paid a couple bucks for these 3 that were non-functional. These came out of the junk. These were actually easier to fix. So anyway, Success got 2 good TI-83s and 3 dead TI-82s, but that's the way it goes. You can't fix everything. So I hope you enjoyed this one. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.